Do you know a guy said to me the other day, he's 40 years old, works in advertising, and he said, do you know the guy who cleans people's shoes, but he's not wearing any shoes himself? He said, that's how I feel. And when I think about it, it's like, well, that's exactly what I don't want to feel like when I'm 40. I want to feel like I've built something and got somewhere. And this is why I'm into stocks. And it's, frankly, I want to apologize to you guys as well on that note, because I tell you guys, study hard and we'll all win together. And I had 4 green trades in a row last week, and I started feeling like this.
I was banging 7-gram rocks, that's how I roll. Winning, I have 1 gear, go, epic. Winning, are you bipolar? I'm bi. Winning, win here, win there, win, everywhere, winner, absolute victory.
I think I can definitely make this $30 back and have the first green month and make fucking history, because the difference between the green week and this red week, 4 green trades versus 5 red trades, both in a row, it's not coincidence. I lost discipline because I got ahead of myself being fucking arrogant. And I want to apologize for telling you guys to study when I'm being arrogant, up on cloud 9. And it's like I'm fucking Jesus Christ or something. And I shouldn't be. I should be Stephen Johnson, not Jesus Christ. But on the subject of Jesus Christ, I mean, it's funny because it's like Jesus died for all of our sins. And when I think about it, I mean, he was on a cross for 2 days. I mean, that's not sacrificing your entire life. That's a bad weekend. I mean, I've had probably worse hangovers than being on a cross for 2 days. So it's not really sacrificing his entire life. It's just a bad weekend. He was on there 2 nights. But anyway, I'll be back to graft, back to studying a lot. Hope you guys are too. Learn from the mistakes, stick to the patterns that work, trade the 2 or 3 setups, nothing else, because this is how I've had this red week. And just live the dream, baby. I'm sorry, trades. So, started off pretty strong. Had a few red trades this month, combination of things just not working out, or maybe just not being as disciplined as I was the first month, and went from being up 40 bucks to down 38 bucks. And I mean, on the whole, am I too concerned? Not really, because I'm having pretty much best month I've ever had in terms of winning trades, best month I've ever had in terms of losses. And we see this as struggling to be around 10.87%, and now 3 out of the last 4 months I've been less than 5%. It is going to come. And I thought this was interesting because I've been trading for about 12 months now, in the challenge about 8, learning. And my winning percentage, the first 6 months I traded was 19%. The last 6 months it was 38%. The amount I lost in the first 6 months was minus 14%. The amount I've lost in the last 6 months is 5.87% of my account balance. So it's pretty solid. And the other thing that I want to address is people are like, oh my God, is it true he's lost $3,900? And I'm like, yeah. And would I do it any differently? Not really. I mean, you guys can paper trade if you don't want to lose the same money, but I know guys who've lost 30 grand and then gone on to make hundreds of thousands a year. It's just a process, and you've got to learn what you feel comfortable with losing. And for me, I mean, in reality, it's coming around now. It's kind of flatlining if we look at this area here. We can see that I'm starting to break even, and it's took a year to get to the point of starting to break even, but I lost what I could afford. I mean, I've actually saved up about $20,000 just from trading, because I'm saving up, I'm not going out, I'm adding money to my account, I'm paying off debt. And to save $20,000 and lose only 4 to the market, I can tell you, if I was not trading, I would probably have the exact same amount of debt, because I would have just spent it all going out. So I'm very, very happy with things. And you've got to think, maybe you will lose 4,000 in your first year, but maybe you'll make 2 of it back in the second year, and then you'll make 30 in the third year. So you've got to think of it differently. So this first green day pattern is really interesting because I've tracked 28 first green days, and with big retracements of like 20-30%, just like this, and exactly 14 of the 28, 50%, you'll be profitable. You'll take 6% or more, and 50% of the time you'll lose. You'll have to stop out at 2-3%. And I kind of really expected this to win on this first green day here, and it just didn't come through. It was one of the 50% that didn't come through. I was surprised because it's a previous earnings winner. If we go back at the chart, it's got a very solid. It had a very solid chart on the day that it bounced. I mean, look at this. This was the first green day. Spikes curled around, and then I was buying in here. I bought in at pretty much 575 on the dip. I was waiting for it to come down a little bit. I'll just take these lines off. It's buying out at like 575, and I mean, I was watching it gap up into the 90s, but I was really going for like 605, 610, so I could capture the 6% at least. And when it opened a little bit lower, I basically got out here. Just got out, lost about 5 cents. I was in 575. I was out pretty much 573 with some slippage, and it crashed and broke. But it's a profitable strategy. I'd take this trade again and again and again. It just didn't work out this time. But it's not really bad luck, because it's 50% of the time. It had 50% it works, 50% it doesn't. It's not bad luck. It's just this was the time it didn't. And ADMP, again, it was another stock where the trade didn't work out, but not really disappointed about it. I mean, when you see this unprecedented volume, it's ran big the day before on this day, and then this was the day that I was buying it on. It's a multi-year breakout the day before. I mean, it's a very, very solid chart pattern. And for that reason, I was a little bit more keen to get in a bit earlier and give it a bit more chance. And it was up a little bit pre-market. It was yesterday's runner. Came down a little bit, which I always think is a slightly worrying sign, but not the end of the world. I mean, I was chatting with Tim Bowen. I mentioned the Stocks to Trade Pro course. We discussed it, and he was saying the same thing. He was like, look, I would take this trade again as well. And when I saw it popping up in the 620s, I got in. It obviously had resistance high of day in the 640s, and it touched it once, couldn't break it. And I really should have got out here, but I held on, and when it was coming back down to break even in the 20s, I just stopped out. Started getting a bit worried that I'd stopped out too early, and I should have had more of a risk around the 6s, around the whole number. Come back up to the 640s, failed to break a second time, and that would have definitely been the time to get out, because it's pretty much triple topped. It's touched it once, twice, 3 times, it's done. It's not going to happen, and then if it's not going to go up, the only way is down. And this is why we can see this kind of big crash. But it's definitely one to watch again, because, I mean, this chart pattern reminds me of MOSY. I'll just flick over to that one. And we can see that it did the same thing, where it had this big, strong I don't know if it's a multi-year breakout, but multi-month breakout, came down, and then look at it, it's consolidated, and it's retesting high of days. So I wouldn't write off ADMP just yet. So I'm actually tracking a new pattern, because I've been shorting for just a while, so I'm seeing what setups really work. And this one is the gap and crap, where it gaps up and then craps down red on meaningless news on a downtrending overall pattern. And I've only tracked 4 stocks, and this one gapped up the least, and it's the only one that's failed out of the stocks that I've tracked. So I mean, roughly 3 out of 4 with downtrending charts that are up more than 20% generally fail, or have been from what I can see. But generally what I like to do is look for kind of evidence of maybe what did it do the last time it gapped up in. I mean, we can look at the last kind of volume days. I mean, these are big volume days, but it's not the pattern. This looks like the most significant volume day when it did gap up. And I mean, if we scroll in, we can see it did exactly the same thing it did today. I mean, it gapped from 5.8 to 5.40, so yeah, I mean, roughly 20%. Had a little washout and spiked and went on a multi-day run. And here we can see that it's gapped up maybe a little bit more this time, had a little washout, and now maybe it'll go on a multi-day run again. I have no idea what it will do, but what I'm mad about is that it doesn't have a history of failing. It's only up 20%. I was just a bit too eager because one of the other trades that I was in didn't work out, and that was one mistake. The second mistake was on a 1 minute chart. I was again a little bit eager, buying it on a first green day, up on the day. Just trying to catch it here, eager to see it drop back down and crack like I've seen on the other three patterns, but it pushed through, and I would have preferred if, I mean, it was good. I got in on this red candle, and I cut it as it broke through the 50s into the 60s. So I mean, at least I did that. I mean, I could have been in it to the 90s. There's some degree of discipline, but ideally I should have, if getting in this, knowing that it's not the strongest chart pattern, thinking, right, well, I'll tell you what, I'll get in at 250, I'll risk 260, and then I'm only risking 10 cents rather than 30 cents, and I'm going to lose 10 bucks, 15 bucks, and then if it does work out, you've got maybe from the 230s, cracks down to the 210s, so then you're risking 10 cents to make 30, 40, 50 cents rather than risking 30 cents to make, what, 30 cents. Okay, and that's a wrap. And guys, the thing with the drugs was just a joke. Don't do drugs. I'm nearly 30 years old. I just want to enjoy life. And if anything, I'm looking for a girlfriend. So if any of you guys know a hot girl who doesn't talk much about herself, or just doesn't talk much at all, then fire her my way. I'd love to chat to her. Other than that, donate to the channel if you guys want to donate to the channel. It's much appreciated. Just keep us going, especially when I'm this much in the red sometimes. Here's the social channels. If you want to learn with Tim, click the affiliate link below. Live the dream. Be a buy winner. Comment Charlie Sheen if you love what I'm saying. I'll be back next week. Can I have a green week? I'm 38 bucks off it. 48 bucks, 38, I can't remember. 38, I think. I'll see you later.
You bottle my brains and feel like, dude, can't handle it. Win here, win there, win everywhere. I've got a list, help me solve this. From the epic win to the desperate win list. Chicken nugget, bubble gum, pretending to text to avoid someone.